Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into some really powerful ideas.
hmm
They come from source material called Softness is Strength, Healing in a Loud World.
Yeah, and right away it kind of hits you, doesn't it?
It does. This observation that, we live in a world that's always yelling,
Always demanding you be louder, faster, always on.
constantly productive.
Exactly. And this material, it offers a really profound counter-argument to all that noise.
It poses this, well, almost radical question, right?
Right. What if the things this loud world often dismisses? Things like softness, vulnerability.
Choosing to heal.
Yeah. What if those are actually the truest forms of strength?
It just completely flips the script on how we usually think about things.
Absolutely. We hear it all the time. Toughen up, build walls,
Get cold to survive, to feel safe.
But this material challenges that directly. It suggests maybe hardening yourself. Maybe that's actually a kind of weakness.
Like a disconnection from something really vital.
Exactly. That's the core paradox it explores. Softness isn't just not weakness.
It's presented as strength, like pure, authentic strength.
And that idea, it even extends to our pace of life. Slowing down isn't just like a nice idea.
It's described as sacred.
Sacred.
And that whole concept, slowing down, turning inward, it really frames the entire journey discussed here.
Yeah, the material positions healing not as some big public show.
No grand performance.
Right. But as this quiet, sometimes really uncomfortable, often, deeply unglamorous process.
It's coming back to yourself.
And it makes a really crucial distinction about self-love, too.
Oh, yeah.
We often think of self-love as like bubble baths and feeling good all the time, affirmations.
The easy stuff.
Kind of. But this source argues that real self-love is often about doing what is genuinely good for you.
Even when it feels incredibly hard.
Or goes against what everyone else expects.
That's a really important reframing, I think. It shines a light on how genuine self-love often shows up in these silent choices.
The ones nobody else sees.
Exactly. Like choosing rest instead of pushing yourself to exhaustion just to prove something.
Or stepping away from a conversation that's just draining you.
Or just turning off your phone when the world feels like it's screaming for your attention.
It's like stopping the performance.
And starting to actually listen to yourself, to your own soul.
Yes. And it's really firm on this point. That feeling of internal safety, feeling okay in your own skin, that can't come from outside. Not a job, not a relationship, not an achievement.
It has to be built from within.
Has to come from within.
Which I think leads us right into one of the most challenging questions in this material. It really stuck with me.
Okay.
It anchors this whole discussion on boundaries and self-worth.
Yeah.
It asks you, where am I abandoning myself to keep someone else comfortable?
Oof. Yeah. That one cuts deep, doesn't it?
It really does.
And speaking of boundaries, this source, it talks about them in such a beautiful way.
How so?
Well, they're not presented as these harsh walls, built to keep everyone out. It's more like doors. Doors you control. You decide what energy, which people, what situations you allow in.
That's a powerful image. A door, not a wall.
And it calls boundaries the highest form of self-love.
The highest form. Why the highest, do you think?
Well, because they specifically protect the parts of you that are still healing. The tender parts.
Ah, okay.
You don't owe anyone access to that most vulnerable self, right? Especially if they haven't earned your trust.
And you definitely don't owe the world like a detailed explanation for your healing process.
Not at all. And the material is also just refreshingly honest about what that healing journey actually looks like.
It's not neat and tidy.
Definitely not. It makes it clear it's messy, it's nonlinear, there's no checklist, no straight path forward.
That idea of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
It's still progress. That's such a vital point. It takes the pressure off.
Yeah, no pressure for perfection, just being present in the process.
Exactly. And this whole perspective, it even challenges our usual definition of what growth is.
How do you mean?
It suggests growth doesn't always look like, winning on the outside, hitting milestones, getting more stuff.
Right. Sometimes growth looks like walking away.
Walking away from something you once thought you desperately needed.
Or maybe letting go of an identity or a role.
Or even a relationship, maybe one that made you feel seen by others.
But never really at peace inside.
Yeah. So, according to this material, real growth is often quiet. It's internal.
Not something you need to broadcast or prove to anyone.
It's about letting go of that need to be impressive.
And starting the journey of becoming, well, real, truly real.
And there's this real courage highlighted in the idea of starting over or just being in that state of unknowing, that thought, I don't know exactly who I am right now, but I trust who I'm becoming. That's incredibly freeing.
Yeah, it really is. If you feel lost, this material suggests, maybe that's not failure,
Maybe it's just being in that fertile in-between ground.
where new beginnings can actually take root.
It just lifts that burden of needing to have it all figured out, you know? Totally. This perspective really emphasizes you don't need to be perfect to be loved. You don't need to be fully healed to be worthy.
So what's the core requirement then?
It seems to be just a willingness to keep choosing yourself,
Choosing softness.
choosing healing, especially on the days when it feels the hardest.
Okay. So just to recap our mission here in this deep dive,
Yeah.
we wanted to pull out the most important nuggets from this material. Softness is strength. Healing in a loud world.
To really understand this perspective on softness, healing, and strength.
And think about what choosing this kind of path might actually mean for you listening right now.
Right. And as we sort of wrap up here, let's just quickly revisit some of those core ideas.
Okay.
That fundamental concept, softness isn't weakness, it's a profound strength.
And healing isn't some destination you arrive at, but a necessary, often messy journey of choosing yourself.
Remember that idea, too, that real self-love isn't just a feeling.
It shows up most authentically in those quiet, sometimes difficult choices.
Prioritizing your own energy, your peace, over what the outside world demands or validates,
And how boundaries got reframed, not as defensive walls.
but as conscious doors, essential, powerful tools for self-love.
Specifically there to protect the parts of you that are still tender and healing.
Yeah, that's huge. And the takeaway that healing is, non-linear.
Steps forward, steps back.
And progress shows up in all kinds of ways, sometimes ways that even look like letting go or walking away.
And that really liberating message.
You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fully healed to be loved or worthy.
The key is just that willingness, right? To
Yeah.
keep choosing yourself day by day.
Even feeling lost. That might not be a dead end.
Could be that fertile in-between place.
Ground zero for new growth, yeah.
So it leaves you with a really interesting thought to chew on, doesn't it? Pulled right from the source.
What does it truly mean to trust who you are becoming?
Especially in those moments when you don't quite know who you are right now.
And maybe even more challenging. What could actually happen?
If you stopped pouring all that energy into trying to be impressive.
And just focus simply on becoming real.
A final thought from the material to leave you with.
Let the world rush. You are blooming.
Yeah.